Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Fight Island. We've got UFC 257, Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor. Should be one hell of a card, 11 fights. 8 of these 11 fights are expected to go to a decision. Let's get things kicked off. Want to first thank everybody for tuning in, and want to let you know this is brought to you by MMA Oddsbreaker as well as BetDSI. Let's go. First fight of the night. We've got Amir Al-Bazi at 125 pounds, flyweights, baby, taking on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Zhumagulov looked solid in his last outing against Paiva. 32 years old, minus 120 at the betting window, 8,300 in DraftKings. Now, you look at the other side of the fight here. You've got Amir Al-Bazi, who, if you look at his fight in 2019 against Shorty Torres, left a lot to be desired. The striking wasn't there. Cardio wasn't really in check. He is very dangerous early, as we saw in his submission victory over Malcolm Gordon. Very explosive fighter. 7,900 for Al-Bazi, minus 110 at the betting window. I think you're going to want a piece of this in DraftKings. It is a dicey situation, though. Closely lined fight. Flyweights, this one's expected to go to a decision at minus 225. I'll be picking Zhumagulov. I think that he is the more competent striker. We've seen him bloodied and put against the fence with his back against the wall. Not a good look sometimes, but he's fought back, and his counters are difference makers. So give me Zhumagulov to win. Next up, we head to the 145-pound division where we have featherweights. We've got Movsar Evloev, 13-0 record. It's been a money train for me through the years, but now he's coming in as a minus 620 favorite, 9,400 in DraftKings. Greco-Roman wrestling, taking on Nick Lentz, 30-11-2 record. 17 of Nick Lentz's fights have gone to a decision. Now Nick Lentz, 36 years of age, 6,800 in DraftKings, plus 420 underdog. The guillotine is always live in that spot. You watch his fight against Islam Makhachev. I was at that fight, blanketed. I expect some of the same here, except Evloev fighting at it, ATT, has shown that he can hit the gas pedal. He does have some submissions of his own. Lentz has been in there against the who's who. I'll be picking Evloev. Take a look at that inside the distance line. Seems a little off to me. In the plus 250, plus 275 range. I will be picking Evloev. And as far as DraftKings play goes, he should use that wrestling. But the question is, if it goes to a decision, is he going to pay off that 9,400? That's a tall task to ask for. Next up, men's middleweights, where we have Makhmud Muradov, 8,600 in DraftKings, minus 155 betting favorite, 30 years old, very fluid on the feet, taking on a clunky Andrew Sanchez, who has a wrestling background, 12-5 record. Those 5 losses are a bit deceiving, though. He came out last time out and really went to war with Wellington Turman and put him out of there. 7,600 plus 125 underdog for Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez, we saw his sparring partner get blasted out of the water recently, hoping for a fight on Fight Island, Eric Spicely. Ouch. You watch Andrew Sanchez, he's been in there with some legitimate competition through the years. The Marvin Vettori fight comes to mind. Slow starter most of the time, except against Turman. He really came out guns blazing. Look for him to try to utilize the wrestling in this spot and stay sharp early. Muradov, though, very fluid on the feet. I'll be picking Muradov to win. I think that the cardio may come into play late here. Give me Muradov to win. Next up, men's 205-pound division, where we have Marcin Prachnio taking on Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree, Ultimate Fighter alumni, 8-4 record, does not have a good gas tank. This is a striking battle where we have Roundtree coming in at 9,300. in DraftKings. He's going to need that TKO finish or that brutal knockout finish. Minus 355 at the betting window. 30 years old. We've seen Prachnio KO'd stiff in in his last 3 fights. Believe it or not, Prachnio is the older fighter here, 6,900 plus 265 underdog. Prachnio comes in looking mean. We saw against Sam Alvey, hands down, got destroyed in that spot. This fight's not expected to go to a decision at minus 435. Wonder, does he have it in him to have a semblance of a defensive game? Can he stay evasive, Prachnio? I have a feeling these two are going to go to war. Somebody's going to go down, and I think that's going to be Prachnio. Give me Roundtree to win. Next up, women's 135-pounders, bantamweights. We've got Julianna Pena against Sarah McMahon. Battle of the moms here. 8,200, minus 125 betting favorite for Miss Sarah McMahon. Sarah McMahon, we've seen her crumple under adversity a number of times. You remember when she said, I can't feel my face. I can't feel my face in one of her fights. The Marion Renault fight, looking strong early, ends up losing. Caitlin Vieira. There have been other fights where she's let us down in the past. Now, in this spot against Pena, Pena's coming off of the loss where she got choked out to Durandamine, and I have a feeling she's going to be positionally put in some tough spots here. The question is she going to look for a way out? McMahon has the silver medalist Olympic wrestling background. Much younger fighter, though. This is a tough one to call. I watched the tape and I was thinking, all right, McMahon is the play here because Pena has horrid takedown defense, and McMahon can win by being positionally sound. Though Pena is a dog here, and she's getting back in there pretty quickly after the Durandamine loss. Give me Sarah McMahon to win. I think that when you watch the tape, it just jumps off that McMahon is the better athlete and the better wrestler, and I think that's what it's going to come down to in this spot. Though don't be surprised if McMahon fades late and she crumples. Next up, we head to the middleweight division where we have Antonio Carlos Jr. taking on Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares, 17-6 overall record. Professional career began back in 2007, 8,700 in DraftKings. His line has fallen. Now he is a minus 120 betting favorite. Antonio Carlos Jr., shoeface, coming off of 2 consecutive losses. Same can be said for Brad Tavares. Tavares was sparked out by Shabazian last time out. I haven't seen him in a long time. Both of these guys have been out of commission for a while. 7,500, minus 110 at the betting window for Antonio Carlos Jr., who has a 10-4 record. Came into the UFC after a tremendous jiu-jitsu career. And this is a spot where if Tavares gets going early and basically has Antonio Carlos Jr. questioning himself, he may look for a way out. Though if Antonio Carlos Jr. is able to find a takedown, drag this fight to the mat, transition to the back, and then ride out control time, then this is Antonio Carlos Jr.'s fight to win. So it's a closely lined fight for a reason. I'll be picking Antonio Carlos Jr. in this spot. I think that he is the fresher fighter. We knew that Tavares has dealt with a number of injuries over the past few years, and he's been in many, many wars. Hawaiian fighter out of Extreme Couture. Then you've got the ATT fighter out of Antonio Carlos Jr. But I believe Antonio Carlos Jr., unless he fades, unless he gives in like he's done before, and we've seen it in the Dan Kelly fight, we've seen it in a number of fights, the Uriah Hall fight, the Ian Heinisch fight, that should have been his fight, but he ended up giving it away. So give me ACJ. Next up, men's. We're headed to the lightweight division where we have a bout that was put together on fight day, basically, or at weigh-ins, where we have Matt Frevola taking on Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan, I thought, was in a pretty good spot against Nasrat Haqparast, but Haqparast decided to go to Fight Island and not weigh in. So he's got a free trip out there for him and his crew members. Now, Matt Frevola was supposed to take on Atman Izatar. Izatar, we know what happened over there, tried to skip town and have some fun in Abu Dhabi. Got caught. So these guys are now fighting each other, Frevola and Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan, 15-2 overall record. We've seen when he came onto the scene in the UFC against Islam Makhachev, really hung in there and had a phenomenal showing despite losing the fight, then was dominant versus OAM. And we saw what he did, and we won some money when he fought Davi Ramos, 8,900 minus 755 betting favorite. That is correct. 24 years old, and he looks, Tsarukyan, to be growing out of this lightweight weight class. Came in at 159 pounds initially on the scale, looked shredded. He's looked shredded his whole career, and he looks to me like he could be moving up to welterweight soon. Frevola, the steamroller, is a dog. If you've ever wanted to see a dog in a battle, somebody who's going to fight for your money, Matt Frevola is that fighter. I was at his fight against Lando Venata, and he showed what he's made of in that fight. He's coming off of wins over Luis Pena and Jalen Turner. Arman Tsarukyan is neither of those fighters. 7,400 plus 455 underdog over here for Frevola. So I think this is going to turn into a grappling fest right off the bat. We're going to see some transitions. We're going to see Tsarukyan using his top heavy game and his size and his strength to nullify Frevola in this spot. I'll be picking Tsarukyan to win. Next up, we head to the women's 115-pound division, where we have Marina Rodriguez taking on Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas, the much younger fighter here, 27 years of age, has been brutally knocked out in the past by Polyana Viana back in 2015, 9,200 minus 315 betting favorite. Rodriguez, 12-1-2 overall record here. And you look at who she's fought legitimate competition. She's fought Cynthia Calvillo, Carla Esparza, Tisha Torres, etc. Muay Thai fighter, looks like she's straight out of Bloodsport. $7,000 plus 245 underdog in this spot. I think this line is starting to get a little bit wide here, though. You listen to the interviews and you watch Marina Rodriguez's previous fights, and there's a glaring hole in her game, and that is takedown defense. And in the interview during the media scrum, Rodriguez was talking about Ribas doing it for the fans. Taking this fight to the ground is basically not a good idea for the fans. You should keep this fight standing, and Ribas has to get this fight to the ground, or else she's going to get lit up on the feet. She does not want to even play for 1 minute on the feet with Marina Rodriguez. You've got to close the distance, take this fight to the ground, and then control Rodriguez on the ground and look for potentially a submission or a TKO victory. I'll be picking Amanda Ribas to win this fight. Fighting out of ATT, should come in with a good game plan, but she is the darling of women's MMA, and there could be a potential hype train derailed in this spot. I do think Amanda Ribas should win this fight, though. Next up, we have women's 125-pounders, where we have Joanne Calderwood taking on Jessica Eye. Jessica Eye coming in off of a devastating loss to Cynthia Calvillo, where she was outworked. She looked horrible on the scales. Then you look at Jessica Eye's earlier fight, where she took on Vivi Araujo, and she came in overweight, didn't put work into cutting weight, and ended up coasting late in that fight and taking a victory in a spot where she made no mention of her missing weight in the post-fight speech. 7,800 for Jessica Eye, minus 105 at the betting window. Calderwood, Joanne Calderwood coming in at 8,400, minus 125. Betting favorite Calderwood. Not the best athlete out there, but she has developed her game over the past few years. I've been impressed with what I've seen despite the recent loss to Jennifer Maia. Calderwood is a dog out there. This fight's expected to go to a decision at minus 320. I think if one of these fighters incorporates loud grunts while they're throwing their strikes, that's to their advantage. It's sad for me to even bring that up when I'm breaking down fights, but I do think that that is a difference maker in this spot. And Joanne Calderwood may not be the busier fighter. Here I see Jessica Eye moving more. She's a better athlete. She'll look to pump out that jab and stay at range. I'll be picking Calderwood to win this fight, though. I think that she has more tools at her disposal, and she's the more well-rounded fighter. I don't trust Jessica Eye at this stage in her career. I'm expecting a split decision win for Calderwood, though. Next up, we have the co-main event of the evening at 155 pounds, where we have Dan Hooker taking on Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler making his way over from Bellator. Incredible athlete, 7,700 plus 115 underdog, 34 years of age, getting up there, has been in some wars throughout the years for Bellator. But then you look at the other side of this fight, where you have Dan Hooker, city kickboxing veteran, 30 years old. Both of these guys began their career in 2009. You look at Dan Hooker coming in with a significant reach advantage, 8,500 in DraftKings, minus 145 at the betting window. I do believe that Dan Hooker should be lined as the favorite in this spot because he does have the UFC experience under the bright lights. He also has been in there with legit competition like Dustin Poirier and Paul Felder and Al Iaquinta. And also, he's been brutalized by Edson Barbosa. He's held up. His body has held up throughout all of these hellacious beatings. And he just keeps coming forward, has a deceptive ground game. He's very long. He's a fighter who uses his reach very well. Had some moments in the Dustin Poirier fight, but this is watching the Poirier fight and then watching Michael Chandler fight. It's not even worth digging into that because Michael Chandler is a completely different fighter. And Michael Chandler is going to come in here to look explosive and to close distance and could potentially use a grappling heavy game to cause Dan Hooker fits. He does have cardio to go 3 rounds. I think that Michael Chandler is going to come out here and look to be the quick starter. And this is going to be a hell of a fight. Either Michael Chandler gets caught, and that's a real possibility in this fight. I think that is an issue, that Michael Chandler could potentially get caught, get stuck at range, and get knocked out and get frustrated while he's trying to come in. Then you also have Dan Hooker, who is susceptible to being hit, but he's a quick starter. And this is a tough one. I'll be picking Michael Chandler to win here, but that isn't with much confidence. I just see that Michael Chandler he's got incredibly high fight IQ, and he is going to try to push a pace early, and he realizes that this moment is significant. But then you have Dan Hooker, who, he wants to break this new toy that's coming in Michael Chandler. So this is going to be a great fight. I don't see this one going the distance. This one is lined at minus 125 to not go the distance, and I think that there may be some value in that line. But give me Michael Chandler to score the upset here. Next up, main event of the evening, where we have the return of Conor McGregor taking on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, 26-6 overall record. Both of these guys, 32 years of age, but you look at the mileage on each of these fighters, and Dustin Poirier has much more mileage. 7,100 plus 235 underdog for Dustin Poirier. Conor McGregor, 9,100 in DraftKings. I suspect he'll be probably the highest owned fighter. Sarukian might be up there as well. Minus 305 betting favorite, 32 years of age. As I previously mentioned, coming off of the win over Donald Cerrone, where he dabbled at 170 pounds for a few fights and then came down to fight Khabib and actually showed a decent showing, considering Khabib is known as the best pound for pound fighter in the world. You watch his fights against Holloway, against Alvarez. Something that's missing here is Conor McGregor does possess some excellent takedown defense. He's got the precision and the timing and this heightened sense of awareness when he makes his way to the octagon that some fighters just don't seem to have. The way he's able to slow down in the Alvarez fight, pick fighters apart at range. We haven't even mentioned the Jose Aldo fight, but if Dustin Poirier can withstand the early barrage and tactical approach from Conor McGregor, then Poirier could potentially be live. I've been at fights in the building with Dustin Poirier. I've seen him take on Jim Miller, where he had to fight he was on the brink of losing, getting his legs chopped off, and then ended up coming back to win that fight. You watch his fight against Justin Gaethje. That was a life-changing fight. And he was on the brink in that fight also. So he's been able to battle back through adversity. I have a huge amount of respect for Dustin Poirier as a man, as a fighter, everything he stands for. A great guy, fights for a great cause. And also his mentality. And the Holloway fight, my goodness, you want a feather in your cap. He put a beating on Max Holloway. So this fight, I would be happy to see Dustin Poirier win this fight, but I am going to be picking Conor McGregor to win. I think that he is going to get this done and likely inside of the distance. Excellent fight, excellent card. Welcome back, my friends. Third fight card of the week. Want to wish everybody a tremendous fight morning. Go get what's yours. Go get what's yours, baby. Mike's MMA Picks. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me at betmma.tips. You can check my plays out at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. I've got a couple of plays up, and I've got some locked in for the next few cards. So have a wonderful day. Let's do this, my friends. Go get what's yours.